Today I'm going to be looking at the Layers tab inside of ReFX Nexus 5, which for me when I first looked at it seemed quite daunting. Compared to previously where it was known more of a rompler with thousands of presets that you could manipulate certain parameters of slightly, it is now a fully fledged synthesizer. I'm going to try and create a really simple sound. The sound of a computer bleep or a sci-fi gadget noise. But I'm first going to do that inside another synthesizer and then see how that same process translates inside of Nexus 5. So I'm going to show you my computer screen. You can see that that is Nexus 5. That's the library tab. And what I'm going to initially do is use my user presets here. You can see it's called Julian's test. And I'm going to make sure that it's initialized. And you do that with these little three dots up here. You click that. And then you can go reset to saw init. One frustrating thing with Nexus is that when you do initialize it, it still leaves on delay and reverb. So here I can turn that off. So turn off the delay, turn off the reverb. Now, if we go over to the Layers tab, which is really what I want to focus on today, you'll see that it looks a little bit daunting. And I'm going to explain how I got my head around this in just a second. But first, I'm going to go away from Nexus. So I'm going to add UAD's Polymax. So this is a fairly basic, but I think easy to use analog style synthesizer. I want this to be on a square wave. There we go. So let's see what that sounds like. Now, I want to modulate the pitch so that that sounds warbly. And if we look down here, we'll see that we do have a pitch mod control. So I'm going to just tweak that up slightly. It's being modulated by the envelope, whereas actually I'd like that to be modulated by the LFO or the low frequency oscillator. And then if we go over to the LFO section over here, we can just increase the rate. There we go. More or less, but maybe we want to change the shape of that LFO. I'm going to change it from a triangle to a square. And then maybe we'll look at the amplifier envelope. So let's increase the attack just slightly so that it's not quite as punchy. And then let's add some release. There we go. Add some reverb too. The effects are down here. So how long did that take? A minute. Now let's see if we can replicate that inside of ReFX Nexus. And there's that tab which initially I found so daunting. And I think one of the reasons that it looks scary at first is because, well, I think the controls are upside down because maybe it's just me, but when I open up a synth, the first thing I'd like to see is the oscillators. So you saw in Polymax, it was kind of top left, whereas here, it's actually in the bottom section. This little drop down here changes the type of synthesis that we've got access to. Currently it's set to virtual analog, but we've got a sampler, a time stretcher, a wavetable, retro, grain or granular, I presume, cloud, I'm not quite sure what cloud is, and FM. And the thing is, when you change to one of these sections, then all of the information to the right here changes with it. So you've got a different set of controls. But let's just change that back to virtual analog. Then you can see that we've got access to the different wave shapes here. And I want to change it to square as we did in Polymax. Now that will sound very similar. But how do we modulate the pitch? Well, that's where we go over to the layer matrix here. And this first drop down, we select the source, the thing that's going to modulate the sound. And for that, I want it to be the LFO. And you can see we've got two LFOs. I'm going to change that to LFO1. And we can then select the thing that we want to modulate in this drop down. And here I'm going to change that to pitch. But what we've then got to do, because that won't do anything yet, is we've got to use this almost like a volume control in the middle. So let's just increase that. But I need to increase the rate of the modulation. So let's go to the LFO, which is here, And you'll see we've got a rate control here, but it's currently synced to the BPM in the DAW, which means that we've got, you know, like quarter notes, eighth notes, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to press the sync button so that we've just got the frequency, and then we'll change that to, I think what we were about 14, 15. So we're getting there, but we need to change the amplitude envelope, which is up here. So we're going bottom to top. So I'm going to increase the attack very slightly so it's not quite as punchy. And then I'm going to increase the release just as we did in Polymax. The shape of the LFO down in this section here, currently set to sine. I want to change that to square. Okay, now if we want to add some reverb, I'm going to go back to the library tab and then switch on the reverb. That's a bit too much. Let's reduce the decay. And maybe go back to the layers tab and just increase the release a little bit. Whereas ReFX Nexus previously was probably considered a very pricey rompler, with everything that it can do now, analog synthesis, sampling, time stretching, wavetable synthesis, granular synthesis, all of that makes it a very powerful tool. But I do think that layers tab, it's a little bit off-putting at first. But that's it. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again in another video very soon. Bye bye.